was the last time you had a getaway with your girlfriends? Yes, a girls' trip. A girls' trip offers a chance to reconnect with our friends. And as we get older, it's easier to recognize just how important these connections are. We tend to get lost in our day-to-day responsibilities. And a girls' trip allows us the opportunity to reconnect with our younger selves. No phone call or a video chat can measure up to those in-person experiences where we catch up over meals, cocktails, and fun, relaxing adventures. You see, recently I took a last-minute girls' trip to Chicago, Illinois, when a girlfriend happened to be there for a conference for her pharmaceutical sales job. And within days, 6 of us had booked our plane tickets to join her for the whole weekend. She extended her trip beyond the conference, so she got to have fun. It wasn't work at that point for her, just to let you know. Now, I've gone to Chicago many times back in the day when I was a fashion model for catalog work. So this was my first official trip to Chicago just for fun, which is really nice. Now, and except for the fact that I did cover this for this segment, so technically it was work, but that's okay. Now, should you visit, make sure you book a room at the LaSalle Chicago Autography Collection Hotel, which is part of, I think it's part of Marriott. It's located in the financial district, and for the weekend, it was actually pretty quiet. So it was nice, and it was the rooms were cozy. The restaurant and the bar in the lobby area offered amazing meals, delicious meals, and the cocktails were fabulous. Everything was within walking distance, which was really great. Of course, there's Ubers and the other stuff, and the train station was right around the corner, but we preferred to walk. We walked to the Millennium Park, which is home of the iconic beam sculpture. We walked to the Chicago River Walk while taking views of several soaring buildings in the area. And whether you are a coffee drinker or not, you gotta stop by the Starbucks, believe me. First, when my friend said we got to go to Starbucks, I was like, are you kidding me? There's Starbucks everywhere. But no, this is like no coffee shop you've ever been to. And wear your party shoes. Of course, Chicago has several fabulous restaurants to dine at, great shopping, and for some laughs, make sure you take in a comedy show at the Laugh Factory. That was a lot of fun. So reach out and plan your next girls trip or your girls trip that you haven't taken in several years, and try to plan something annually or biannually going forward, because we all need to let loose with our girls. Now, let me know some of the fun places that you go to, because maybe me and my girls will go to one of those on our next trip. Elizabeth Benton is a wife, bonus mom, daughter, sister, niece, colleague, and friend. She's traveled extensively between moving frequently with her family and in her own career, but has always called Hawaii her true home. Lucky woman, as it is the one place that remained her constant since she was a child. That global travel led Elizabeth to experience many cultures, the people of those cultures, and to learn many life lessons by looking at life through different lenses. Elizabeth is a lifelong equestrian, a former polo player, and lover of animals. Spending time with horses helps Elizabeth recharge her batteries and be a kinder human being. Elizabeth is joining us today to share about her book, Drive from the Heart: 7 Life Lessons from Unexpected Loss. Thank you so much for joining us, Elizabeth. We are so excited to hear about your book.
Sunita, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here. This has definitely been a heart project, as I refer to it. The title of the book, Drive from the Heart, really prompted from the morning of my wedding. My husband wrote his vows on the airplane and en route to Hawaii, and he was concerned that I hadn't written mine, and yet I just waited till that day, and I got this message of just, if we drive from the heart, Doesn't mean that life's going to be easy, but if we drive from the heart, we're leading from the right spot. And as I was contemplating writing a book and sharing these life lessons from unexpected loss, it came back to me that Drive from the Heart is really the title of the book. And what that means to me is so much of grief, any type of grief, we're in our head. We're thinking about what used to be, what could have been, and the list goes on. But as I began to realize if I would shift out of my head and even just spend a few moments driving from my heart, I was better able to embrace the memories that made me smile, some that made me sad. But by shifting out of my brain and driving more from the heart, I was able to shift how I saw grief and really welcome the lessons from grief versus fighting the unexpected.
So, what made you decide to write your books? I understand that you're sharing the story of how you lost your husband, and you're sharing the lessons, I guess, that you learned along the way to help you deal with the loss or heal. I'm not sure what the best term is, but you also incorporated like a journal with each chapter so that your readers can heal along or take the lessons that you're sharing.
Correct. From the very early days, I would almost even say early hours, I knew great growth would come from this, just a loss that I can't even put words around at times. And grief is a hard topic. Nobody wants to talk about it. And within the chapters, people are uncomfortable with sadness. And I respect that people care about me. They want to see me happy, but they want it on their timeline. They don't understand why I might be taking longer in sadness or in reflection than maybe they're comfortable with. And one of those life lessons, just summarized, is your timeline is perfect. You don't need to be fixed. And grief is a topic where people want to fix things. In the very early days, people show up in ways that I never even expected. Took me a while to appreciate it. And that was beautiful in its own way. But then in one of the chapters is entitled Bruising and Sucking Back, the sucking back is a horse term where a horse shifts very unexpectedly and they suck back because something has startled them. And what I found was between months 2 and 3, almost everybody sucks back. They are back to their own life. They are avoiding you because you're still sad and they're not comfortable with being around it. And there's various reasons. But I think that is one of the harder parts of the season that I had no idea. And so friends of mine have been supporting other people that are grieving. And I've reminded them that phase is probably more important than any other phase of grief. So I think sucking back applies to personal lives and work, but especially you've hired somebody new, you get them, going in a direction, and then you kind of suck back because you hired them for their skills. So I think that concept applies in a lot of different directions, but that was one of my bigger life lessons from this unexpected loss of David.
Okay. Can you, or is it okay? I know it's David's birthday. Do you mind sharing the loss as briefly as possible?
Certainly. Yes. And I chose to gather with you today because it was his birthday. And I thought, what a beautiful way to celebrate him in a unique way this year. David unexpectedly passed away while at work. And he was surrounded by people that he worked with. So there's all different kind of layers of grief, both from work and personal. David had 3 very young boys, which is certainly just a whole, I don't even have words for that sometimes, but it was very unexpected. I'm grateful that it was quick. That is one of the positive things of an immediate transition. I can appreciate that better now. And I had been out of town that entire week. I sat at an airport for 7 hours. And that night before, I was so utterly calm. Normally, I'd be climbing the walls of the airport. And, in hindsight, I was gathering energy for what would be coming in those days. But he woke up when I got home. We had a really lovely chat. So there's a lot of positive in that, but it was a very quick, immediate transition.
So, what is the first life lesson that you share in your book that you got from that experience? Because unexpected passing, I think it tends to be the hardest.
I think it's all hard. It's just hard in different ways, is how I've worded it. With the unexpected, you've heard it throughout your life to live every moment as if it's the last, right? Do things the way you truly feel comfortable. Leave it as if it was that last moment. And those words are true. But I think as people approach that, they're just so overwhelmed thinking about life that way. But if we really focus on our inner circle and just start there, we don't have to worry about the stranger every day. But if we focus on our inner circle, the time spent on guessing, well, what were those last words? Because there is no physical goodbye. In fact, David never used those words. David called goodbye a swear word. It was always see ya, which is how I ended the book. It's a see you. And my family has adjusted. They now all understand that see you is also one of the life lessons from this. But going back to the unexpected, Sunita, it's don't get overwhelmed by spending all your energy treating every moment as if it was the last. But those that are truly near and dear, your inner circle, leave conversations, leave interactions as if it is potentially the last. Because the amount of time you would potentially spin your wheels and sit in grief even longer, well, what did I do here? Could I have done that differently? Did I leave that the way I could have? The what ifs can be drowning. So that's one of the life lessons that I took away from this experience. And grief is a hard topic. It's ugly. It's painful. Nobody wants to talk about it. And I just felt compelled to spend some time and share some lessons. My goal is just to create ripples out there.
Yeah.
Where this book may go, we shall see. But the messages that I've received so far and the ripples of people thinking about things differently and how they, looked at some of the things that I shared, that was my goal in writing a book, is the ripples.
Yeah. Another question before I have you read an excerpt. Is anger a natural part of grieving the loss of someone?
I think for many, yes.
Okay.
I will say, and I had a conversation with my therapist about anger. I had very little anger. I feel very fortunate with the relationship that I had with David. And every relationship is different, and I don't want to compare it. That's not fair. I felt more sadness that those things that we talked about doing, those things that were coming up in our schedule, things we were doing with the boys, I felt more sadness than anger. But I know there are many that experience anger, and I don't know why I didn't experience that as much, but it is absolutely involved in the process.
Yeah, I think a lot of people should know that it's okay to feel whatever emotions come, let it process and go through it to get on the other side of it.
It is, I make the analogy, When you get a bruise, a lot of times with sports bruises, as they start to heal, they get itchy and it hurts to scratch it, but it yet feels a little bit better. I kind of feel like that is healing from grief. Is it's easier to deal with it now and to kind of push into it versus ignoring it. And there's a time and a place to ignore it, but I may lean into the bruise and scratch it and deal with the feeling better and the extra pain at the same time.
Yeah. Please read an excerpt from your book.
So in the title, in the chapter Bravery, when I moved from my home in Hawaii to Nashville to start a new season with David, someone said my actions were brave. I didn't understand the comment, but I moved on. And then recently, someone said writing a book was brave, and it felt like the right time to pause and dig into that. What is bravery? Is bravery defined the same way for everyone? I believe bravery is action or actions taken by oneself that seems an enormous step to someone else, the person saying you are brave. And to me, bravery is a version of self-care and of asking of what's needed at that moment and then doing it even on the hardest days and continuing to do that if necessary for yourself and what's in your best interests. Asking for help when needed, that's brave. Helping others go through a similar season, that's bravery. And I believe we need to take more time to digest what we have accomplished to get here. When you're in the middle of a season, it can feel like essential tasks like drinking water and brushing your teeth are some of the hardest things you've done all day. But when you're ready, I encourage everyone to look back and acknowledge those tasks were harder than expected. And the key is without judging yourself. So that's a little bit about bravery.
I love that. And I love the ending, without judging yourself. Yeah.
I talk a little bit about the judging of self throughout the book. It was a hard one for me, and I still have my moments. I always will, but those expectations when people don't understand why maybe today's a sad day, or you're feeling a moment and they just want to see you happy. We made reference to that, but bravery is being with that moment when it shows up and working your way through it.
Absolutely. So I lost my dad in September. I took care of him for 2 years. He had Alzheimer's, and I'm okay with death. For whatever reason, it doesn't bother me. I had him on hospice, but of course I miss him. So every now and then it'll hit me just at the strangest moments, and I allow myself to cry, whatever it is that I feel, and then I'm okay. And even I imagine that I'm talking to him sometimes, I know you're here or whatever. It gives me comfort, and I just move past it. I even talk to my dog, because he used to call my dog Goat Head because of his ears. And sometimes I'll say, Omi, you miss being called Goat Head, and I'll laugh. So I think that's one of the biggest things, is that we have to get to, maybe not have to, but it does help to get to acceptance that it's a part of life. Sometimes it happens unexpectedly. I do believe that that's harder. My dad was older. His disease was progressing no matter what. But I almost wish that they would teach it in school, just like raising kids. I don't know. It's like, I feel like there's so much that we should be taught maybe within our families to prepare people more. Because when I hear people say, their mom passed and they're angry with life, and that anger lasts for years. And my thought is, but she was older. She was in her 80s. She was in her 90s. Why not celebrate that person had life for that length of time? That is a bit troubling. If they're younger, I get it. And it's a 20-year-old, I get that a bit more, but I feel that we need to be more prepared. And I believe that people like you writing books like this will hopefully get us there. because I do believe that going to the other side has to be a beautiful, I feel like I'll just be asleep. I don't have to worry about working, no stress, no, no bills.
In my beliefs, I think it's a pretty beautiful place. Well, place isn't the right word, but that's the kind of the human word.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and Sunita, in the Hawaiian culture, I remember being very young, and they always referred to it as celebrations of life,
Yeah.
regardless of the age. It's still a massive party and a gathering and storytelling and
Mhm.
song. And I remember the first time I went to a service on the mainland, I remember elbowing my dad, and I'm like, what is going on? I had never experienced that type of a service until I was a teenager. So there's many cultures that celebrate, and I love that. It's not always easy,
Yeah.
but regardless of the age and the circumstance, there's a lot to celebrate. And I'm
Yeah.
celebrating David today on his birthday.
Exactly. It is a celebration.
It is.
So please tell me, how would someone get your book? And also, what is the greatest thing that you want them to get from your book when they buy
Um, you know, I, I, I guess that one kind of stutters me. I, I'm so keen on letting people experience their own path. And I hope that by reading the book, that they just look at what they're going through or what someone they're supporting is going through, and just look at it through a different lens. Some of it may help them, some of it may have no relevance. And the journaling options are opportunities for everyone to just stop and kind of think about that chapter and how it might relate to them today, or maybe in a later season. And as far as connecting, thank you very much. Drive from the Heart is available on Amazon. I do have an Instagram page, which is simply Drive from the Heart. And so certainly happy to connect with readers. If anyone has any comments or questions, I certainly welcome that. And I'm happy to say that the ebook launched today, so that is also available. Also on Amazon, it is a Kindle download. So very excited for that.
Awesome. Makes it even quicker, especially when someone's ready to heal right now. Whatever they can get it right away with an ebook. Thank you so much,
Absolutely.
Elizabeth, for joining us. I hope you change a lot of lives and help people heal along their journey.
Thank you so much for having me. And I'm truly hopeful that the ripples continue with the book, and that people are a little more comfortable tackling grief.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Thank you.